Hello and welcome to the Blue Podcast. This is the Green Show, your show with the EFL and National League. My name is Lenny and alongside me is Matt and Kian. Unfortunately, Henry can't be here this week. With the FA Trophy and Storms cancelling games this week, there are fewer games than usual. However, with midweek action, Matt and Kian will be here to bring us all the action, starting off with the Championship.
Well, can I just say first, you said unfortunately Henry isn't with us this week.
Is it unfortunate?
Yeah.
No, I don't think so.
It can be seen as a good thing. So, anyway, so Championship, we've had obviously the games on the weekend, and then we've also had some games midweek, some playing tonight. Obviously, we film on the Wednesday, some played last night. So, over the weekend, we saw Burnley draw 1-1 at home to Middlesbrough. Not a great result for Burnley.
No.
Takes them off top of the Championship, and they played in midweek as well. They drew 0-0 to Derby.
And Sheffield United's got a game in hand.
Yeah, so
they play tonight.
They're losing their reign at the top. Anthony Dykes Anthony Dijksteel opened the scoring for Middlesbrough. Only his third career goal. I think he's been playing since like 2017. Played for Charlton, obviously now at Middlesbrough, but only 3 career goals.
Yep.
So it's quite nice for him to get a goal.
As well, with the top of the table, it's important to remember that Sheffield United did have a points deduction as well.
They did,
Yeah.
-4, wasn't it?
I think it was 2.
Oh,
it
it
was
got
two.
rescinded
It
to
was
2,
two,
didn't it? Yeah,
but
sorry.
still, so they would be joint with Leeds at the moment if they hadn't had that deduction with the game in
Yes.
hand.
So we had Sheffield Wednesday drawing 1-1 against Preston. I don't know if either of you saw this, but something weird happened in the game. So I think Sheffield Wednesday were attacking,
Yeah.
and the ball hits a water bottle or something.
Yeah.
So
and they
the ref
brought it back.
has to pull it back to do a drop ball. From this, Sheffield Wednesday win a penalty.
Yeah.
But then they go and miss the penalty.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'll show you the clip afterwards. But
Prime EFL,
that
really, isn't
is
it?
prime EFL right
Just to jump in on Preston quickly, of course, Paul Heckingbottom is their manager. Have things really gone to plan since his appointment? Because they haven't really moved away
They're
Mm,
from the
not where you'd
relegation
expect
zone.
them. I mean, as you know, Preston are where you'd expect them to be, 11th or 12th, normally. That's where you'd expect them to be. They're 18th. So you'd argue they're probably not where you'd want them to be. And bringing in a big manager, they're probably wanting to push on.
Yeah, got
And they
Sheffield
and they
United
haven't.
promoted.
Yeah, they haven't pushed on at all.
I've never rated Heckingbottom as a manager.
You haven't?
No, I mean you could say he obviously got Sheffield United promoted.
Yeah.
But that squad was too good for the Championship.
But then in the Premier League, they sold a lot of their top players.
Yeah,
Players went to Marseille.
Well,
of course, and
I just
Mendy.
never liked Heckingbottom as a person, so
I think-
it's probably down to that for me.
For Preston, he's a good manager. I think he's a great manager for them, and I think, fans will be expecting them to have pushed on. I know they don't have the best squad, but they have some good players, and I think they're, as I said, they're normally 10th to 12th. That's where I'd expect them to be, and the fact that they're not even there at the moment, they're not doing as well as they should be.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's going to be one where it takes time.
Yeah.
Which obviously you don't get nowadays in football, which is
No.
unfortunate. But I think someone like Heckingbottom will need time with that Preston squad. I think they will improve over time, but
Yeah.
it's probably just to be a steady season for now, and maybe next season, if they still have Heckingbottom, they can push on.
Yeah.
So if we go to the next game, we have Sunderland beating Stoke 2-1. 18-year-old Tom Watson scoring a brace, scoring in the 86th minute.
Wow.
Stoke are just not in a good position at all. They're really struggling. I've seen a lot of stuff, though, people wanting their manager out, and he's only, I don't know how to pronounce his name. I think it's like Pelic or something. He used to be at Norwich. It's just, I think it's crazy wanting a manager gone after he's only been in the job 2 months or 3 months. And I think it's more than a manager problem at Stoke. Because
What else do you think it is?
I think it's down to players. I generally think, what manager, since they've gone down from the Premier League, not one manager's worked for them. And I think it's got to be more than a manager issue.
How many years have they been in the playoffs since
They haven't
getting relegated?
been in playoffs.
No.
But I think as well though, you look at that squad, it's not really a great squad, is it? Like they've got Berger, who's quite good, but other than that, I don't really know. I look at that squad and I don't really know who many of them are. I don't really look at many of them as big names, and I think that's part of the problem. They've probably not had enough investment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's down to the owners.
Yeah.
I think that's a problem.
Well, I think it is down to the owners. Their squad is all right. I can see why their fans are frustrated, but I think someone like Pellicci is a young manager. He's only this is his first proper job. I think you got to give him time. It'd be very harsh to sack him with the way Stoke have been over the last few years, and I just can't see them improving. Even if they get someone like a Cooper or a Robbins, I think it's stupid that they want their manager gone. But that's what football's like nowadays.
Yeah.
We had Leeds beating Derby 2-0. Obviously, good result for me and Matt because don't like Derby. Leeds are now top of the league though.
Yeah.
So that's
you think something. This is the year they get promoted?
I think you look at it, they have to surely. Like they can't accept another season in the Championship.
Yeah.
That's not good enough for them.
Their squad is far too good.
They've been there last season, and fair enough, there are a lot of good teams last season. No one could have predicted Ipswich, but even the competition with us and Southampton was hard enough, and I think it's fair enough they've not gone up. But another season, not good enough.
Yeah.
Well, I think they will go up. I think it will be Burnley, Leeds, Sheffield United.
I'm not so sure.
I can't see Sunderland having enough to go up. I'll happily be proved wrong, but they've kind of stagnated as of recently, and I just can't see another squad with those other three qualities, if that makes any sense.
On the topic of Leeds, of course, we see sides like Ipswich and Sheffield United, they jump straight into the Premier League. It doesn't work out. They go straight back down. Is it maybe a positive that Leeds have taken a few more years into Championship, develop a squad and then go up?
I think they've lost too many good players now. I think they've still got good players, don't get me wrong, but they've lost, like for example, they lost Ruta. They probably wouldn't have lost him if they'd gone straight up. Yeah. And players like that, and I think those are the kind of players you need when you're going to survive in the Premier League. And I think because they've lost those players, because they've been there for longer, that could end up hurting them in the future because they've lost their... The reason they were so good last season was Archie Gray, Somerville and Ruta. They're all gone. Yeah.
But they still have, obviously, quality. Ethan Ampadu, a former Chelsea.
Sure, yeah, but less.
Wilfred Nonto. Yeah, it's less, but it's still a quality squad that's going to be in the top end of the Championship no matter what. So I think they will have enough to go up, but we'll see come the end of the season, won't we?
I think for me, though, Sheffield United and possibly Burnley are both better. But I'm not sure. I think it'll be tough.
We'll get on to Sheffield United. Frank Lampard. Oh, wait, no, we've missed one. Portsmouth getting a huge win. 3-0 at home to Bristol City with goals from Colby Bishop. Obviously, the man who came back from his... I can't think what... Heart surgery, yeah. Josh Murphy, former Oxford winger. And Callum Lang. Huge win for Portsmouth. Takes them off the bottom of the table.
In fact, last time... Out of the relegation zone.
Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah, the last time...
Oh, wow.
21st.
The last time they lost was the 5th of November.
It's a long time ago, actually, to be fair.
They have had one or two games postponed, of course.
They are starting to get used to the Championship.
Yeah.
And Portsmouth, they're a big club for me.
Well, yeah, they're such a big team on the South Coast. They must be the biggest on the South Coast. Like, it's surprising that they were where they were. And I think that, I think they'll struggle to stay up, but they're making a good case.
I think they could just have enough to stay up. I think, obviously, with Cardiff and Hull being in the bottom three, they're two you could see having more quality than Portsmouth do.
Yeah.
But I think if Portsmouth have that bit more togetherness, like we've seen with other sides in the past, like Plymouth last season, I think they're more than capable of staying up, but we'll have to...
They've got a game in hand as well.
They do, yeah. Is that tonight or
not too sure? They've got a game that got postponed against Millwall.
Yeah. They've got. I think they had 2 postponements.
Yeah, they did. Blackburn away.
There's quite a few teams that have had postponements, so they're not actually that far behind, but they are one behind.
Well, speaking of Millwall, they lost 1-0 to Coventry City, with that being Frank Lampard's first win as Coventry boss. But Neil Harris, he's departed Millwall. Well, after their next game against Middlesbrough. He departs after this defeat, which is, you could say, a bit of a shock, really.
I think it's really unfair. I think they're 13th at the moment, but they were pushing for playoffs, and I think they still could.
I think he walks out. I don't think he was sacked.
Yeah, I think it's more of a board issue. I don't know if you even saw his interview this week after the game. He was saying how, like, the Millwall's home fans, the atmosphere was really poor, and the away fans kind of won it for Coventry. which you don't want to be saying.
No, you can't say that.
You can't say that about your own fans. You kind of got to keep that to yourself. Obviously, it's probably a heat of the moment thing, but who do Millwall replace him with? I've seen obviously Mark Robins linked to the job, but he's going to be linked to loads.
There's a lot of. See, I don't think there's many high-level managers like Premier League level on the market, but what there is a lot of managers who manage in the EFL and have a wealth of experience. People like Robbins and Steve Cooper, and people of that level. I think there are quite a few of them bouncing around at the moment.
They've got to be very careful with this next appointment because if they get it wrong, they could be dragged into the relegation battle massively, and obviously they could lose that Romain Esse youngster. They could lose him in January, and they need to get this appointment right. They need to, but we'll see. QPR getting a big win, 3-0 at home to Norwich City.
When was their last home win? I think it was last season. I think their last home win, it was 4-0 against Leeds on the 26th of April.
Are you sure they didn't win at home? They won at Cardiff, didn't they?
They did. So they've not won at home this season. They've not won at home since the 26th of April, and they win 3-0 at home.
Unbeaten in their last 4 though. 1-2, drawn 2. On the right path. Yeah.
Well, like I said, they need to keep trust in Marty Cifuentes. They had to. I think it would have been a rash decision to sack him. Yes, they've been really poor this season. Yeah. But if you look what he did for them last season, taking them out of that bottom spot and keeping them up, I think it was the right decision to keep him, and it's now starting to pay off. They're starting to do well now. Yes, they probably didn't have They had a really poor start, obviously. They only won like one of their opening 14, I'd want to say.
They're really bad start.
They were really poor, and it's a bad loss for Norwich. Let's face it that way. Obviously, they got the top scorer in the league. They were the top scorers in the league.
I'm going to say, you've got to praise that QPR defence not only scoring 3 goals like in the game, but also keeping
Borges Sands quiet. Did he play? Did Borges Sands play? Yeah.
Did.
Yeah. Keeping Borges Sands quiet. What more can you do? It's brilliant result for QPR, but one game there wasn't a good result for a relegation team is Hull City lost 1-0 at home to Blackburn.
It's a poor result.
Was that Ruben Selles' first game, or was he watching
on?
No,
I don't think Selles was. Obviously, Ruben Selles has now come in. We said on the last podcast about Tim Walter, the previous Hull manager, how he could get sacked. 10 minutes after we finished filming, he got sacked. So we were right there.
Yeah. Ruben Selles, though, good appointment?
Yeah. I think so. It's a great appointment, in my opinion.
If you look at what he's done at Reading, considering the circumstances, I think it's a solid appointment. Yeah. Obviously, he's still a young coach. I'd like to see Hull stay up. I've got a soft spot for them. Yeah. But yeah, obviously they lost a lot over the summer, so they were going to struggle. But you wouldn't think they would be bottom of the league.
Not at all, no.
Big win for Blackburn, top 6 now. Very impressive under John Eustace, proving his worth. Obviously, he got sacked at Birmingham last season really harshly.
Especially considering they lost their star player who scored the most goals in the Championship last season.
So, yeah, they just seem to always prove everyone wrong when they lose a big player. If we just quickly go over the other results, we had West Brom. Surprise, surprise, West Brom drew. They drew 2-2 at home to Sheffield United. And then yesterday's results, last night, we've touched on Burnley drawing 0-0 to Derby. Luton leaving it late against Stoke with an Elijah Adebayo 90th minute winner. Swansea winning at Plymouth 2-1. More pressure for Wayne Rooney. Portsmouth getting another point, drawing 0-0 to Norwich. Blackburn with another win away at Sheffield Wednesday. Sunderland drawing 1-1 Bristol City. And Leeds beating Middlesbrough 3-1. Quickly just go over the table. Leeds are top, Sheffield United second. Playoffs so far consist of Burnley, Sunderland, Blackburn and Middlesbrough, with Middlesbrough 1 point clear of 7th place Watford. And then in the bottom 3 we have Cardiff, Plymouth and Hull. So an interesting week in the Championship. Do you want to move on to League One?
Yeah, definitely. So we'll start with the weekend. The weekend of the 7th of December. Shock result really was probably Wycombe and Reading, a 1-1 draw. Wycombe are top of the table. You'd expect them to be running over there. And I know Reading have been doing well, but as we mentioned, Ruben Selles has left, who's the first game without him, and they've gone on and got a draw against top of the table. I think very impressive result.
They've now drawn their last 2 matches, Wickham. So slowly losing momentum. Could you say?
And especially with I believe Wrexham. They won 1-0 against Burton, with Elliot Lee scoring a goal. Birmingham also won, so they've gained ground on.
We don't like Birmingham.
Well.
We do not like Birmingham.
Well, they've just spent so much money. It's not that I don't like them.
They
don't deserve it.
I'm gonna annoy a lot of Birmingham fans here, especially if this gets clipped and put on TikTok. But I really dislike their fan base. They're so entitled, and even when they're in the Championship, they would always start the season well and say, "Oh, we're going to get promoted. We're going to get promoted."
They were in the Prem for a few years.
Yeah, but obviously they've been struggling. They were struggling in the Championship over the last few years, and they would start well. Their fans would think they're going to get promoted.
I think they could have done on the East End side, but if they didn't,
they would not have got promoted. They would have not got promoted.
Well, not promoted, but they would have pushed for playoffs.
Yeah, but
it wouldn't have gone down for definite.
Yeah, but they always started well and always dropped off. I said it every season, and hopefully they do the same this season. I really hope they don't go up because it will be hilarious.
Is that just a personal vendetta?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I really do not like Birmingham.
The team I want to focus on for a bit is Shrewsbury, because they are bottom of the table on 11 points. They just lost on the weekend 4-1 to Cambridge, who are 22nd. Can you really, in a relegation battle, lose 4-1 to a team that is 2 places above you, who you're fighting to play out? I don't think it's acceptable, really. Like, they're not making a very strong case to stay up. Neither are Burton, who are also on 11 points. They're both 5 points clear of, 5 points below 22nd. And Rotherham, who are 20th, who we'll get onto in a minute, are 9 points clear of the relegation zone. 9 points clear of Shrewsbury at the bottom of the relegation zone. So it's getting isolated.
Rotherham being 20th is mad.
Yeah, I was going to get onto that.
It is mad.
So yeah, they've not done very well. I mean, obviously they just got newly relegated. They had their game postponed on the weekend, so they didn't actually play. And obviously with the FA Trophy, I believe it was, they haven't played midweek like the Championship. So they haven't played for a week. But their last result was a 2-1 win against Lincoln. So they did win their last game. But yeah, it's not looking good for them. You'd expect them to be really pushing to go back up, but
I think as they usually do.
I think it's the case when you have such a big influx of players. We've seen it in loads of leagues now, and once you have that big influx of players in the summer, getting them to gel right away is impossible. It's very impressive if they can gel straight away. I think Rotherham will get better as the season goes on, but they're not going to be playoff fighting or promotion fighting. They just need to kick on and just start gelling. That's the issue. The
other thing I'd like to point out is Northampton sacked their manager on, I believe it was last Thursday, and they then went on to win their local derby against Peterborough 2-1 with Cameron McGeehan scoring both goals. The team haven't done very well so far this season, but it's a result that pushes them higher up the table into 17th. Do you reckon they can push on or not?
Did they get promoted last season?
No, they've been. I think they've been in League One for quite a while now, if I remember rightly.
They were very up down.
They got promoted in 2022-23.
Ah, right.
Through the playoffs, I want to
maybe, yeah.
I think so.
Yeah.
Oh no, through third
I don't know
place,
if they'll necessarily kick on, but I think obviously securing safety is the main target.
Yeah.
If they kick on, that's great for them, but I think they'll be just happy with staying in League One.
Yeah, but a quick round up of the table then to round it off. Wickham are still top with a game in hand over Wrexham, who are equal on points, both with 40. Birmingham have 2 games in hand over Wrexham and 1 game in hand over Wickham. They sit on 39 points, so 1 behind. But if everyone wins their games in hand, it would put Birmingham top on 45 points, Wickham second on 43, and Wrexham would stay on 40. Huddersfield are 4th, Stockport are 5th, and Reading, despite all their off-the-field issues, are still 6th. And as I said, Burton, Shrewsbury, bottom of the table. The other teams in the relegation zone are Crawley and Cambridge. So teams are sort of, I would say, where you'd expect them to be this season so far. But it's still very tight. Anyone really could go anywhere, I think. Especially in mid-table, you win a couple of games, you fly up.
There is something I quickly want to touch on before we go to League Two. Is Stockport look like they're going to lose Louis Barry in January.
Yes, yeah.
That is huge.
Is it to Middlesbrough, I think? I think
Middlesbrough's the rumour. Obviously, he's on loan from Aston Villa, but he's a great player. He will be a massive loss to Stockport, which could mean they won't achieve playoffs.
I mean, so far this season, he's scored 14 goals in 19 matches, and he doesn't even play as a striker. He's an attacking midfielder. It's very impressive numbers. He's clearly a player playing above his level. And, yeah. Should we move on to League 2 then?
Yeah.
So, Warsaw are top of the table now. They've knocked Port Vale off, but Warsaw also have a game in hand. So they currently sit 2 points clear with 37, but they can extend that lead to 40 points, so 5 points clear of Port Vale. At the bottom of the table, Carlisle and Morecambe are still at the very bottom. They're 2 points clear of safety, with Swindon sitting on 16 points. On the weekend, Swindon won 3-1, so they distanced themselves a bit. Warsaw and Port Vale played each other in the standout fixture, with Matt scoring the only goal.
Well done, Matt.
Yeah,
well done.
I know. But yeah, Port Vale, it's a poor loss. They've lost at home. They were top of the league, and they've been knocked off because they've lost at home.
By looking at the top three, first place is Walsall. They've won 3 of their last 5. But then Port Vale have only won 1 of their last 5, and that's the same for Doncaster.
But I think this is a similar story that we've seen a couple of times with Port Vale. Is they start well, and then they don't keep it on. And I heard from a lot of their fans, this is quite normal for them, that they have a good start, similar to what we were saying with Birmingham. They start well, they think they're going to do well, and then they drop off. But I think that they were relegated from League One last season, so you would expect them to go up, but they're making it harder than it needs to be. But there's obviously 3 spots to go up in this league, so they only need to stay where they are now, and they'll be fine. But yeah, you can't lose to second in the league when you're top of the league at home. It's a poor result for them. There are a couple of postponements. Barrow's game against MK Dons was called off. Newport v Carlisle and Notts County v Colchester were all called off due to the storms.
Did you see why Counties was called off?
I did see why.
That was a load of crap.
So for anyone who didn't see, the reason their game was called off was because there were a couple of things in their like scoreboard screen that a couple of the panels had fallen down.
Literally 2 panels fell down, and it
is a safety issue though, and it's fair enough that you have to postpone it.
I think that was stupid.
Newly promoted Chesterfield got an amazing 3-0 win against Tranmere. They now sit 8th after just being promoted from the National League. It's a very impressive result. Bromley, who also were promoted, sit 14th, so they're doing better than we'd expect as well. They won 2-1 against Accrington Stanley on the weekend. So, yeah, I mean, teams are sort of at the top and near where you'd expect, but I think the shocks really are the newly promoted teams, Chesterfield and Bromley, being where they are. You'd expect them to be lower.
Yeah.
But I think, yeah, that's probably the main points from League 2. It's other than Port Vale being knocked off the top, there's not really much more than you'd expect to be going on.
Who do you think could go down? In last place is Carlisle, and they haven't beaten in their last 4 in League 2.
Are they? See, I do still think the 2 that are there now, for me, are the ones. Because I think Carlisle, they're always flirting with relegation. They're there every single year, and somehow they survive. I think surely...
They were in League 1 last season. I know they went down.
Yeah, but whatever league they're in...
consistently in League 2 beforehand.
For League 2, they've got quite wealthy owners, to be honest. So
you think?
Yeah. Mate, they were buying, like... some top players from League 1 and League 2 last season, but it's just obviously not worked. I don't know who's going to go down. I think it's really hard to tell at the minute. I would just love Ian Holloway to keep Swindon up, because I absolutely love Ian Holloway.
I don't see Swindon going down, but I also I look higher. I don't see Tranmere going down. Accrington I could see going down, but I don't think they will. But I just think, for me, Morecambe and Carlisle are the more obvious ones.
Morecambe always find a way to stay up, but
that's the thing.
It was always them that found. They're like the Everton of League 2.
I was gonna.
They're literally the Everton of League 2. So it's anyone's game at the bottom.
Right.
Yeah.
And a quick roundup on the National League then. Southend United beat Halifax 2-0. Goals came from Pepple and Crowther, separated both sides. Southend are 14th, while Halifax are 11th. Braintree drew 2-2 with Gateshead. All the goals were scored in the first 19 minutes.
Wow.
Ebbsfleet drew 0-0 with Boston, a game that doesn't really do any sides any favours. Boston sit 19th, Ebbsfleet 20th. And Ebbsfleet are 11 points from safety. Boston 5 points. So it's not looking
That's
great.
a long way. 11 points. Can you really claw that back?
They've won one game all season.
I really hope
they're down for me.
I really hope Boston stay up. I really want them to, but it's not looking good.
It's not looking good at all. So a quick mistake there. 23rd and 24th, not 19th and 20th. 23rd and 24th.
Is it four that go down or
Four that go down? Four that go
I
down.
think for me, those two are kind of
gone.
Yeah, especially 11 points clear. You can't. I think if you were a Premier League team and you were that far clear, you'd be saying bye already. Like
yeah.
You can't look at it any differently just because
Brighton's already on the wall for Southampton.
Yeah,
two wins and they're
they're not even that far off.
Well, we will be talking about that in Gold Show, so go check that out.
Yeah, make sure you check it out.
Hartlepool drew 0-0 with Barnet. So Barnet slip once again. Not really the form they want to have. If Forest Green win their game in hand, then they overtake both Barnet and York.
To be top of the league. I mean, yeah, you'd expect them to be pushing up there. As we've said before, they've been in the Football League. They're the obvious one to be there.
Sutton won 2-0. Of course, they got relegated last season. They'll want to bounce back, push on and get into the playoffs. They're currently outside of it. Yeovil, who got promoted, won 2-0 away to Woking. Yeovil have now ended their 3-game losing streak. It was helped that the hosts went down to 10 men within the first 18 minutes. York won 6-2, home to Maidenhead.
That's a big win.
They're still on the chase to get automatic promotion this season. And a few more games to just draw on. Halifax drew 0-0 with Sutton in a midweek fixture. Solihull beat Aldershot 2-1, and Wealdstone drew 3-3 with Altrincham.
Some goals.
Some goals.
Lots of goals.
Considering a lot of games would have been postponed, a lot of goals. So
a lot of goals.
What's the table looking like again?
So the table as it stands looks like, if I get that up, York and Barnet are both first and second respectively with 44 points. Forest Green are on 42 points. If they win their game in hand, they overtake both sides. And of course, they went down. Was it last season or the season before?
Yeah,
last season. And then in the playoffs, you have Gateshead, who were in the playoffs last season. Oldham, who have 2 games in hand over Gateshead. Rochdale and Sutton United, with of course Sutton being relegated last season.
Wow!
But I think that rounds us up for the Green Show. So thank you very much for watching. Like and subscribe, and catch us for new videos on the Green Show and other videos on the Premier League.